from Krishna book. So today I've been asked to read chapter 43. Let me just check 1 second. Yeah, it's chapter 43. So this chapter is about Krishna and him killing elephants. And the elephant's name is Kuwela Yapadya. So he's one of the demons, you could say. So yeah, we'll just read the whole pastime of the narration of how Krishna does it, or the story that Prabhupada's giving us. So. Before we start, we'll just do quick prayers to the spiritual teachers. Om Agyantavirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvise Shashanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Vancha Kalpa Trubhesha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Okay, so chapter 43, the killing of the elephant Kuwela Yapadya. After taking the baths and finishing all their morning duties, Krishna and Balaram could hear the beating of the kettle drums in the wrestling arena. They immediately prepared themselves to proceed to the spot to see the fun. When Krishna and Balaram reached the gate of the wrestling arena, they saw a big elephant of the name Kuwelayapadya being tended by a caretaker riding on its head. The caretaker was deliberately blocking the entrance by keeping the elephant in front of the gateway. Krishna could understand the purpose of the caretaker, and he prepared himself by tightening his clothes before combating the elephant. He addressed the caretaker in a very grave voice, as resounding as a cloud. "You miscreant, caretaker, give way and let me pass through the gate. If you block my way, I shall send you and your elephant to the house of death personified." The caretaker, being thus insulted by Krishna, became very angry. And in order to challenge Krishna, as was previously planned, he provoked the elephant to attack. The elephant then moved before Krishna like inevitable death. It rushed towards him and tried to catch him with its trunk, but Krishna was dexterously moved before the elephant. Being able to see only to the end of its trunk, the elephant could not see Krishna hiding behind its legs, but it tried to capture him with its trunk. Krishna again quickly escaped capture, and he again ran behind the elephant and caught its tail. Holding the elephant by its tail, Krishna began to pull it, and with great strength he dragged it for at least 25 yards, just as Garuda drags an insignificant snake. Krishna pulled the elephant from this side to that side, from right to left, and just as he used to pull a calf by its tail in his childhood. After this, Krishna went in front of the elephant and gave it a strong slap. He then slipped away from the elephant's view and ran to its back. Then, falling down on the ground, Krishna placed himself in front of the elephant's two legs and caused it to trip and fall. Krishna immediately got up, but the elephant, thinking that he was still laying down, tried to push an ivory tusk through the body of Krishna by forcibly stabbing it into the ground. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshmana Hanuman ki jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. Although the elephant was harassed and angry, the caretaker riding on its head tried to provoke it further. The elephant then rushed madly towards Krishna. As soon as it came within reach, Krishna caught hold of the trunk and pulled the elephant down. When the elephant and caretaker fell, Krishna jumped upon the elephant, broke off its tusks, and with it killed the elephant and the caretaker also. After killing the elephant, Krishna took the every tusk on its shoulder, decorated with drops of perspiration and sprinkled with the blood of the elephant. He looked very beautiful, and thus he proceeded towards the wrestling arena. Lord Balaram took the other tusk of the elephant on his shoulder, accompanied by their cowherd boyfriends. They entered the arena. When Krishna entered the wrestling arena with Balaram and the friends, he appeared differently to different people according to the different relations, rasas, with him. Krishna is a reservoir of all pleasures and all kinds of rasas. Being favorable and unfavorable, he appeared to the wrestlers exactly like a thunderbolt. To the people in general, he appeared as the most beautiful personality. To the females, he appeared to be the most attractive male, Cupid personified, and thus he increased their lust. The cowherd men who were present there looked upon Krishna as their own kinsman, coming from the same village of Vrindavan. The impious Kshatriya kings who were present saw him as the strongest ruler and the chastiser. To the parents of Krishna, Nanda and Yashoda, he appeared to be the most loving child. To Kamsa, the king of Bhoja dynasty, he appeared to be death personified. To the unintelligent, he appeared to be an incapable personality. To the yogis present, he appeared to be the supreme supersoul. To the members of Vishnu dynasty, he appeared to be the most celebrated descendant, thus appreciated differently by different kinds of people present. Krishna entered the wrestling arena with Balaram and his cowherd boyfriends. Having heard that Krishna had already killed the elephant Kuilayapadya, Kamsa knew beyond doubt that Krishna was formidable. He thus became very much afraid of him. Krishna and Balaram had long arms. They were very beautifully dressed, and they were very attractive to all the people assembled there. They were dressed as if they were going to act on a dramatic stage, and they drew the attention of all people. The citizens of Mathura, who saw Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became very much pleased and began to look on his face with insatiable glances, as if they were drinking the nectar of heaven. Seeing Krishna gave them so much pleasure that it appeared that if they were not only drinking the nectar of seeing his face, but were also smelling the aroma and licking up the taste of his body, and were embracing him and Balaram with their arms. They began to talk among themselves about the two transcendental brothers. For a long time, they had heard of the beauty and activities of Krishna and Balaram, but now they were personally seeing them face to face. They thought that Krishna and Balaram were two plenary incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana, who had appeared in Vrindavan. The citizens of Mathura began to recite Krishna's pastimes, his birth as a son of Vasudeva, and his being taken into care of Nanda Maharaj and his wife in Gokul, and all these events leading to his coming to Mathura to favor them. They spoke of the killing of the demon Putana, as well as the killing of Trinavrata, who came as a whirlwind, as they also recalled the deliverance of the twin brothers from within the Yamala Arjuna trees. The citizens of Mathura spoke among themselves. Sumkachada, Keshi, Dhanukasura, and many other demons were killed by Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan. Krishna also saved all the cowherd men of Vrindavan from the devastating fire. He chastised the Kaliya snake in the water of Yamuna, and he curbed the false pride of the heavenly king Indra. Krishna held up the great Govardhan hill in one hand for 7 continuous days, and saved all the people of Gokul from intense rain, hurricane, and hailstorm. They also began to remember other enlivening activities. The damsels of Vrindavan were so much pleased by seeing Krishna's beauty and participating in his activities that they forgot the troubles of mature existence. By seeing Krishna and thinking of him, they forgot all sorts of fatigue. The Mathura citizens discussed the dynasty of Yadu, saying that because of Krishna's appearance, this dynasty of the Yadus would remain the most celebrated family in the whole universe. The citizens of Mathura then began to talk about Balaram. They spoke of his very beautiful lotus petal eyes, and they remarked of him, "This boy has killed the Pralamba demon and many other also." While they were thus talking about the activity of Krishna and Balaram, they heard the vibrations of different bands announcing, announcing the wrestling match. The famous wrestler Chanura then began to talk with Krishna and Balaram. "My dear Krishna and Balaram," he said, "we have heard about your past activities. You are great heroes, and therefore the king has called you. You have heard that your arms, we have heard that your arms are very strong. The king and all the people present here desire to see a display of your wrestling abilities. A citizen should be obedient and please the mind of the ruling king. Acting in that way, the citizen attains all kinds of good fortune. One who does not care to act obediently is made unhappy because of the king's anger. You are cowherd boys, and we have heard that while tending your cows in the forest, you enjoy wrestling with each other. We wish, therefore, for you to join us in the wrestling so that all the people present here, including the king, will be pleased." Krishna immediately understood the purpose of Chanura's statements and he prepared to wrestle with him. But according to time and circumstances, he spoke as follows. "You are a subject of the king of the Bhojas and you live in the jungle. We are also indirectly his subjects, and we try to please him as far as possible. This offer of wrestling is a great favor of his. But the fact is that we are simple boys. We sometimes play in the forest of Vrindavan with our friends who are our own age. We think that to combat people of equal age and strength is good for us. But to fight great wrestlers like you would not be good for the audience. It would be contradictory that their religious principles." Krishna thus indicated that the celebrated strong wrestlers should not challenge Krishna and Balaram to fight. In reply to this, Chanura said, "My dear Krishna, you can understand very well that you are neither a child nor a young man. You are transcendental to everyone as your big brother Balaram. You have already killed the great elephant, Kuvilayapadya, who was capable of fighting thousands of other elephants. You have killed him in a wonderful way. Because of your strength, it behooves you to compete with the great, strongest wrestlers amongst us. I therefore wish to wrestle with you. And your older brother Balaram will wrestle with Mushtika." Thus the ends of Bhaktivedanta purport of 43rd chapter of Krishna, the killing of the elephant Kuvilayapatya. Chapter 44, the killing of Kamsa. After Kamsa's wrestlers expressed their determination, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the killer of Madhu, confronted Chanura, and Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini, confronted Mustika. Krishna and Chanura, and then Balaram and Mustika locked themselves hand to hand, leg to leg, and each began to press against the other with a view to coming out victorious. They joined palm to palm, calf to calf, head to head, chest to chest, and began to strike each other. The fighting increased as they pushed each other from one place to another. One captured the other and threw him down the ground, and another rushed from the back to the front of another and tried to overcome him with a hold. The fighting increased step by step. There was a picking up, dragging and pushing, and then the legs and hands were locked together. All the arts of wrestling were perfectly exhibited by the parties as each tried their best to defeat their opponent. But the audience in the wrestling arena was not very much satisfied because the combats did not appear to be equally matched. They considered Krishna and Balaram to be mere boys before Chanura and Mushtika, who were the strongest wrestlers as solid as stone. Being compassionate and favoring Krishna and Balaram, the many ladies in the audience began to talk as follows. "Dear friends, there is injustice here," another said. Even in front of the king, this wrestling is going on between incompatible sides. The ladies had lost their sense of enjoyment. They could not encourage the fighting between the strong and weak. Mushtika and Chanura are just like thunderbolts, as strong as great mountains, and Krishna and Balaram are two delicate boys of very tender age. The principle of justice has already left this assembly. Persons who are aware of civilized principles of justice will not remain to watch this unfair match. Those taking part in watching this wrestling match are not very much enlightened. Therefore, whether they speak or remain silent, they are being subjected to the reactions of sinful activities. But, my dear friends, another lady in the assembly spoke out, just look at the face of Krishna. There are drops of perspiration on his face from chasing his enemy, and his face appears like a lotus flower with drops of water. Another lady said, don't you see how the face of Lord Balaram has turned especially beautiful? There is a reddish hue on his white face because he is engaged in a strenuous wrestling match with Mustika. Another lady in assembly addressed a friend. Dear friend, just imagine how fortunate the land of Vrindavan, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is present, always decorated with flower garlands and engaged in tending cows along with his brother, Lord Balaram. He is always accompanied by his cowherd boyfriends, and he plays his transcendental flute. The residents of Vrindavan are fortunate to be able to constantly see the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, which are worshipped by great demigods like Lord Shiva and by the goddess of fortune. We cannot estimate how many pious activities were executed by the damsels of Rajabhumi, so that they were able to enjoy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by looking upon the unparalleled beauty of his transcendental body. The beauty of the Lord is beyond compare. No one is higher than or equal to him in beauty or complexion or bodily luster. Krishna and Balaram are the reservoirs of all kinds of opulence, namely wealth, strength, beauty, fame, knowledge, and renunciation. The gopis are so fortunate that they can see and think of Krishna 24 hours a day, beginning from their milking the cows or husking the paddy or churning the butter in the morning. While engaged in cleaning the houses and washing the floors, they were always absorbed in thought of Krishna. The gopis give a perfect example of how one can execute Krishna consciousness, even while performing various types of mature engagements. By constantly being absorbed in thought of Krishna, one cannot be affected by the contamination of mature activities. The gopis, therefore, are perfectly in trance samadhi, the highest perfectional stage of mystic power. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that one who is constantly thinking of Krishna is a first-class yogi amongst all kinds of yogis. My dear friends, one lady told another, we must accept the activities of the gopis to be the highest form of piety. Otherwise, how could they have achieved the opportunity of seeing Krishna both morning and evening? In the morning, when he goes to the pasturing ground with his cows and cowherd boyfriends, and in the evening when he returns with them, playing on his flute and smiling very brilliantly. When Lord Krishna, the super soul of every living entity, understood that the ladies in the assembly were anxious for him, he decided not to continue wrestling, but to kill the wrestlers immediately. The parents of Krishna and Balaram, namely Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, Vasudeva and Devaki, were also very anxious because they did not know the unlimited strength of their children. Lord Balaram was fighting with the wrestlers Mushtika in the same way that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was fighting and wrestling with Chanura. Lord Krishna appeared to be cruel to Chanura, and he immediately struck him thrice on his with his fist. The great wrestlers was jolted to the astonishment of the audience. Chanura then took his last chance and attacked Krishna, just as one hawk swoops upon another. Folding his two hands, he began to strike the chest of Krishna. But Lord Krishna was not even slightly disturbed, any more than an elephant is when hit by a flower garland. Krishna quickly caught the two hands of Chanura and began to wheel him around, and simply by this centrifugal action. Chanura lost his life. Krishna then threw him to the ground. Chanura fell just like a flag of Indra, and all his nicely fashioned ornaments were scattered hither and thither. Mushtaka also struck Balaram, and Balaram returned the stroke with great force. Mushtaka began to tremble and vomit blood. Distressed, he gave up his vital force and fell down just as a tree falls in a hurricane. After the two wrestlers were killed, a wrestler named Kuta came forward. Lord Balaram immediately caught him in his left hand and killed him nonchalantly. A wrestler of the name Sala came forward, and Krishna immediately cracked his head with a kick. A wrestler named Tosala came forward and was killed in the same way. Thus all the great wrestlers were killed by Krishna and Balaram, and the remaining wrestlers fled from the assembly out of fear for their lives. All the cowherd boyfriends of Krishna and Balaram approached them and congratulated them with great pleasure. While trumpets resounded and drums were beaten, the leg bells on the feet of Krishna and Balaram tinkled. All the people gathered there began to clap in great ecstasy, and no one could estimate the bounds of their pleasure. The Brahmanas present began to praise Krishna and Balaram ecstatically. Only Kamsa was morose. He neither clapped nor offered benedictions to Krishna. Kamsa resented that trumpets and drums should be played for Krishna's victory, and he was very sorry that the wrestlers had been killed and had fled the assembly. He therefore immediately ordered the band to stop playing and addressed his men as follows. I order that those two sons of Vasudeva be immediately driven out of Mathura. The cowherd boys who have come with them should be plundered and all their riches taken away. Nanda Maharaj should be immediately arrested and killed for his cunning behavior, and that rascal Vasudeva should be killed without delay. Also, my father Ugrasena, who has always supported my enemies against my will, should be killed. When Kamsa spoke in this way, Lord Krishna became very angry with him, and within a second he jumped onto the high dais of King Kamsa. Kamsa was prepared for Krishna's attack, for he knew from the beginning that Krishna was to be the supreme cause of his death. Kamsa immediately unsheathed his sword and prepared to answer the challenge of Krishna with the sword and shield. As Krishna wielded his sword up and down, hither and thither, Lord Krishna, the supreme powerful Lord, caught hold of him and with great force. The supreme personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the complete creation, and from whose lotus navel the whole creation is manifested, immediately knocked the crown from the head of Kamsa and grabbed his long hair in his hand. He then dragged Kamsa from his seat to the wrestling dais and threw him down. Then Krishna at once straddled his chest and began to strike him over and over again. Simply from the strokes of Krishna's fist, Kamsa lost his vital force. To assure his parents that Kamsa was dead, Lord Krishna dragged him just as a lion drags an elephant after killing it. When people saw this, there was a great roaring sound from all sides as some spectators expressed their jubilation and others cried in lamentation. From the day Kamsa had heard that he would be killed by the eighth son of Devaki, he was always thinking of Krishna with his veil in hand, and because he was very much afraid of his death, he was thinking of Krishna in that form 24 hours a day without stopping, even while eating, while walking, while breathing, and naturally he got the blessing of liberation. In Bhagavad Gita it is stated, Sad tad bhavam bhavita. A person gets his next life according to the thoughts in which he is always absorbed. Kamsa was thinking of Krishna with his view, which means Narayana, who holds a veil, conch shell, lotus flower, and club. According to opinions of authorities, Kamsa attained Sarupya Mukti after death. That is to say, he attained the same form as Narayana, Vishnu, on the Vaikuntha planets. All the inhabitants have the same bodily features as Narayana. After his death, Kamsa attained liberation and was promoted to Vaikuntha Loka. From this instance, we can understand that even a person who thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an enemy gets liberation or a place in the Vaikuntha planet. So what to speak of the pure devotees who are always absorbed in favorable thoughts of Krishna? Even an enemy killed by Krishna gets liberation and is placed in impersonal Brahmajyoti, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all good. Anyone thinking of him, either as an enemy or as a friend, gets liberation. But the liberation of the devotee and the liberation of an enemy are not the same. The enemy gradually gets the liberation of Suyajya and sometimes gets the Sarupya liberation. Kamsa had 8 brothers, headed by Kanaka, and all of them younger than he. And when they learned that their elder brother had been killed, they combined together and rushed towards Krishna in great anger to kill him. Kamsa and his brothers were all Krishna's maternal uncles, brothers of Krishna's mother Devaki. When Krishna killed Kamsa, he killed his maternal uncle, which is against the regulations of Vedic injunctions. Although Krishna is independent of all Vedic injunctions, he violates the Vedic injunctions only in inevitable cases. Kamsa could not be killed by anyone but Krishna. Therefore, Krishna was obliged to kill him. But as far as Kamsa's eight brothers were concerned, Balaram took charge of killing them. Balaram's mother, Rohini, although the wife of Vasudeva, was not the sister of Kamsa. Therefore, Balaram took charge of killing all Kamsa's 8 brothers. He immediately took up an available weapon, most profoundly the elephant's tusk which he carried, and killed the 8 brothers one after another, just as a lion kills a flock of deer. Krishna and Balaram thus verified the statements that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in order to give protection to the pious and to kill the impious demons who are always enemies of the demigods. Hare Krishna. So we'll just stop there because the curtains will open very soon, and so maybe we can get ready to prayers and arati. So thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.